All right, so here we go for 3.1 here. We're just going to sort of go through these like we normally do. So identify each of the following: one pair of perpendicular segments. Okay, well, I'd look for, if I'm thinking perpendicular, I'm thinking two lines that intersect at exactly a right angle, so they're forming a right angle. So I'm just going to say, okay, DH and EH. So the way I'd write that, I'd say D, we're talking about segments here, so we'll say DH, and then is perpendicular to EH works. There are other ones that would work here, especially if you assume this was sort of a rectangular prism with right angles sort of everywhere. But in this case, if we were just looking at this one, we could just say DH and EH, or possibly even DH and HG. Sort of there would be a lot of combinations. I do want to make sure I'm using the correct notation here, though. One pair of skew segments. Skew segments never intersect but aren't coplanar. So if we pick something like AB as a segment, it doesn't really matter the first one you pick, because there always will be something skew in a diagram like this. So AB, well, skew would be DH. So there is no sort of symbol. So I'll just say AB and DH are skew. Now, keep in mind that there's a host of other examples. If I pick any one, you can pick something skew to it. Basically, in this case, they're on different sort of planes, right? They're going to be in different depths. Sort of one's forward, one's back. They're going in different directions. All right. So one pair of parallel segments. Well, they mark these two as parallel, so we can definitely. So those are the obvious ones. If I say AB, and again, I'm going to use my symbol as parallel to DC. AB is parallel to DC. There's a lot of other ones, like I said, especially if you assume everything's a right angle. BF and DH are parallel. AE, DH, AD, BC. There's a whole bunch of them. One pair of parallel planes. Fewer options in this case, because basically parallel planes never intersect. So we're looking at either, the ones that are marked sort of are going to be sort of plane, or the left plane over here and the right plane. So that would be sort of like, I'll just write plane. Let's just do planes. ABE. And CDH would be fine. All right, so that would be sort of this one and this one here, never intersect. Of course, you could also do the top and the bottom, the front and the back, sort of name a pair of those planes that never intersect. Those would be parallel planes. Planes can't ever be skew, though, because, right, there's no possible way for that to work. All right, so give an example of each pair. All right, alternate interior angles in this case. Well, I'm going to sort of just color these in. I'm going to color the exterior, this blue here. So that would be, if I'm looking at in this or at this diagram, right? Let's do like a light one so we can see these things in here. So we'll do interior as this purpley pink color. All right. So one pair of alternate interior angles. Again, I'm looking on the interior, sort of between the two lines that the transversal goes between. So they're alternate because they're being alternating or opposite sides of the line of the transversal, that is. So we have angles 2 and angle 4. Right? And so that would be one example. Of course, we could also say 1 and 3. That would be another example. Alternate exterior angles, basically the same thing. Alternate sides of the transversal, except they're both exterior angles, so both in the blue. So we could say something like angle 6 is an exterior angle, so its alternate exterior pair would be angle 8. And of course, we could also say angle 5 and angle 7. Corresponding angles, there's 4 pairs of corresponding angles, and it doesn't have anything to do with interior, exterior. So they're just in the same sort of relative corresponding location. So again, sort of 6 is in the top left of this angle grouping, and so 3 would be in the same place, the top left. So angles 6 and angle 3 would be corresponding angles. Of course, you could say 2 and 7, 1 and 8, 5 and 4 as well. And then same side interior, well, we know they're going to be on the interior, right? So they're going to be something like in this purple region. So we know it's going to be, let's say, start with angle 2. Well, on the same side of the transversal as angle 3. So that works. Of course, angle 1 and angle 4 also would be fine. All right, so we have angle, which says identify the transversal, then classify each angle pair. So in this case, we have angle 1 and angle 2. And this is where we would sort of, what I would probably do is just sort of re-sketch this thing out. So we know angle 1 and angle 2, right? N is the only line that they're both on. So I know N is the transversal, so I can start there. And if I just think to myself, all right, if the two lines are going like this, and N is my transversal, the angles 1 are right here, and angle 2 is right here. So what are those? Oh, they're both in sort of the top left, so those are corresponding. All right, they're corresponding angles. All right, so we'll keep on going here. 2 and 3, so angles 2 and 3. Again, we'll give it a quick sketch here. Well, 2 and 3 are both right. Angle 2 is right there. Angle 3 is right there. So they're both on line M. So that's the transversal. And so we can sort of, again, make my quick sketch. We have the transversal. We have that would be angle 2. And then we have this would be angle 3. So hopefully we can see, oh, look, they're alternate exterior. Now, if you can see them and visualize them without sketching it out, by all means, it just is, I think, an easy way to sort of make sure we're on the right track. So they're not on the interior between these lines. They're on the exterior. They're on alternate sides. So we said that is alternate exterior angles. And we'll sort of, once we get going with these little more, I'll probably go a little quicker. Angles 2 and 4. I'll do this diagram down here. So 2 and 4 are both, like this is angle 4 right here, and angle 2 is there. So N is going to be the common transversal here. And so we have N is my transversal. We'd have angle 4, which is right about there. We have angle 2, which is right about there. And so they are alternate interior angles. So we'd say alt interior angles. All right, that's what they are. And then 4 and 5, we have 4, we have 5 right here. So P is the one that they're both on. So if we sort of sketch that out here, we get transversal, and then we have angle 4, which would be about here, and angle 5, which would be about here. So those are on the interior, and they're on the same side. So pretty much same side. Oops. Interior angles. That's what they are. All right, not so bad. All right, want to name this. This is going back. It's a little repetitive of what we talked about, so we'll go a little faster this case. And of course, recognize that there could be other ones, but we'll just stick with one, which is what it says. Identify each of the following: one pair of parallel segments. We'll just go with the ones that are marked. So we'll go with AB is parallel to DE. Right, those are zip parallel there. One pair of skew segments. Again, I'll just start with AB. So if AB is here, we'll go one. Let's go CF. So CF works there as well. Those are skew. CB wouldn't work. Those are on the same plane. They intersect, like a lot of stuff there. But so we'll just say that those are skew. One pair of perpendicular segments. Again, I'm going to think perpendicular means right angle. I look for my perpendicular, my right angle there. So we'll say BD. Segment BD is perpendicular to segment DF. There we go. One pair of parallel planes. In this case, there is only one option, right? Because I sort of look at sort of the opposite of this plane over here. There really isn't one because it intersects the two other ones. So the only options we have are sort of top and bottom. And there's only 3 points on those. So it really would almost have to be plane A, or I'll do plane ABC and plane DEF. Those would be my options there. All right, down here, we want to give an example of each. So same side interior angles, let's just say angle 3 and angle 5, right? Those are on the same side, right? We have the interior here, we have the exterior here and here. So interior on the same side as my transversal, which I'll just put T there. All right, and then we have our alternate exterior angles. So we're looking on the exterior. So one alternate side from the other group, or the opposite side, same thing, right? 1 and 8. There, of course, are 4 and 7 would work as well. Corresponding angles, we'll just say, let's do bottom left. That's angle 4. And then bottom left is angle 5. And then alternate interior angles, we're looking interior, and they're on opposite sides. So that would be 2 and 5, let's say. Oh, and just for corresponding angles, it could be 1 and 6, 2 and 7, 3 and 8, 4 and 5. And for alternate interior angles, it could be 2 and 5 is what I put, but 3 and 6 would be another one there. Identify the transversal, classify each angle pair. The directions aren't changing, but we want to make sure we're getting these right. So 2 and 3. All right, so 2 and 3, I think is a little bit easier to see because we can sort of ignore the rest of the stuff. But the transversal is going to be the line that they're both on, which is going to be, I think that's supposed to be P. It's cut off, so I'm gonna, that's got to be P. It's cut off. And those are going to be sort of both in sort of the top left. So that is, they're in the same corresponding location. So they're corresponding angles. Is what I put. Angle 4 and angle 5. So we have angle 4, which is here, and angle 5, which is here. Those are the transversal in this case would be Q. Those are the ones, that's the line that they're both on, those angles. And they're alternate interior angles. They're on the interior and they're on alternate sides of the line. All right, 2 and 4. Well, in this case, 2 and 4 are both on line L. This one it might make sense to sketch out. So I'm thinking, okay, well we have the L going across here. We have angle 2 here, and we have angle 4 here. It's easier to see. They're both on the exterior, and they're both on alternate sides. So we got alternate exterior angles. It really does help to draw them out. Angles 1 and 2. So again, I'm sort of ignoring everything else. And so we have transversal that 1 and 2 on is going to be P again, assuming that is P. I think that is. And I can draw that transversal that 1 and 2 are on. I can draw this angle 1 right there. I can draw angle 2 there. Oh, they're both on the interior. They're on the same side. So there we go. Same side. Interior angles. Not so bad. Okay. Here we go. Just a few more. Name a pair of alternate interior angles with transversal N. So we're looking at transversal N's coming across here. It's intersecting here and here. So those are the groupings of angles that I'm looking at. Alternate interior angles would be between these two. So it looks like we can have 7 and this angle. We can't name it, so it has to be angle 5 and angle 8. All right, a pair of same side interior angles with transversal L. Well, here's a transversal L, so it's going to intersect here and here. So it's going to be between this and on the same side of this line would be 2 and 7. Corresponding angles with transversal M, so here and here. We're talking about corresponding, so if I do 4, will that be this angle? Nope, but 5 and 1, those are corresponding. If you also did 6 and 3, that would be fine, but let's do 5 and 1. So angle 5 and angle 1. I put 1 and 1 if you were wondering, so my bad. Angle 5 and angle 1. All right. Identify the transversal and classify the angle pair for 3 and 7. All right, well, 3 and 7 are both on line L, so there's my transversal. And 3 is going to be, 3 and 7 are corresponding angles. They're both sort of in like the top right-ish. And again, I said I'd be, doing them a little quicker, sort of as I explained a few of them already. Identify the transversal and classify the pair for 5 and 8. All right, so 5 and 8, well, 5 and 8 are both on N, so that's the transversal. 5 and 8 would be, they're both on the interior, and they're on alternate sides, so alternate interior angles it is. Transversal for angle 1 and angle 6, so 1 and 6. Transversal M, and looks like they're on alternate sides, or opposite sides, same thing, and then they're on the exterior. So alternate exterior angles. All right. So which pair of the diagram are alternate interior angles? Okay, 1 and 5. Nope, those are alternate exterior. 2 and 6. Those are alternate interior. Bam. Need to go no further. And just if we wanted to, but 7 and 5 are corresponding. 2 and 3 are same side interior. How many pairs of corresponding angles in the diagram? So anytime you sort of have a transversal with 2 points of intersection, 2 groups of angles, you're gonna have 4 corresponding pairs of angles. You can name them if you want. 1 and 8, 2 and 5, 3 and 6, 4 and 7. So those are how many pairs, right? There are 8 total angles, but 4 pairs. What type of lines are not represented in the diagram? Well, parallel lines, here they are. They're marked as parallel. Skew lines, we'll come back to that. Intersecting lines, yep, these lines intersect clearly. Perpendicular lines, yep, not only do they intersect, but they're also perpendicular. So we know the answer is skew. And again, that makes sense. Skew lines are sort of not coplanar, which means you'd have to show 2 different planes, and it's not 3-dimensional. It's not 2 different planes there. All right, this one's a little tricky. This one we actually have to draw out. It says for 2 lines in a transversal, 1 and 8 are alternate exterior. So I'm going to draw 2 lines and a transversal. Angles 1, so I'll just put them here. They said they're alternate exterior, so I know I have to draw it on the exterior. And so 1 and 8 are alternate exterior. So if that's 1, then this has to be 8 because those are alternate exterior. 1 and 5 are corresponding, so that's my angle 1. And so 5 has corresponding, so it has to be here. Then it basically asks what 5 and 8 are. So hopefully we recognize, boom, 5 and 8 are vertical angles. And they're congruent because of VAT, just for fun. All right, which angles in the diagram are not corresponding angles? All right, well, we have 1 and 5 are, 2 and 6 are, 4 and 8 are, 2 and 7 are alternate exterior, and so they're not corresponding. Bam. All right, thanks for watching. Let me know if there's any questions.